Okay, so my name is Kodichiko Konko, and today I want to talk about an update to this car, the problems and solutions. Now, today we're going to talk about the alternator. Now, the alternator, let me show you the car. This is C230 2003 version with a compressor, that is a supercharger. This car works with a supercharger. So it's a four-cylinder engine with a supercharger. Okay, for today we're going to be talking about the alternator. Now, the alternator is a very important part of this car. The alternator actually is a way the engine charges the battery, which stores energy to run the electronics of the car. So the engine transfers the mechanical energy through the serpent belt to the alternator, which in turn uses the energy generated to charge the battery of the car. So this alternator is an instrument that is very, very, very vital to any car. Most of the cars, name the brand, Peugeot, Toyota, Mercedes, and the rest of them, they all use this alternator. Now, in this car, like we've been talking about this car for a while now, I want to show you something. So let me pop open the hood of this car to show you the alternator. So the alternator is just down here, just below this instrument here. You can see it down there. See it, that is its pulley. This is the pulley part of it, and that is the alternator inside there. Let me see, just down there. Okay, so this alternator generates its energy or its electricity just like most of the generators you have, but when this engine is running, the engine transfers its rotatory energy through this serpent belt through the pulley of the alternator. Then while the alternator rotates, it tends to generate some electricity, and that electricity is used to charge the battery, which is in this compartment here. So this is the battery that is charged by this alternator here. And one thing you need to know about this alternator is that it actually helps this car keep running for a long time. If not, your battery will run down and your car will come to a halt. So when you have a problem with this alternator, it tends to ground the car entirely. So when it comes to this model of car, Mercedes has found, they have a way of notifying you that your battery is no longer charging, and that's from your dash. In your dashboard, there's a red indication, very bright red color. Let me show you. In this dash, in this section, it shows a very reddish color, showing you that your battery is low. It says something like your battery is low and needs to be checked. Usually when you see that, it's an indication that your alternator has a serious problem and needs an urgent attention. So if you have your technician close by, you could make a quick call and let your technician come and handle it and fix it. If not, the car has the potential to keep you on the road, especially in a place where you may not like it. So you just have to do something very quickly. Okay, so number one thing that damages this alternator is water. Most of you are aware of that. Most times your engine is dirty and you need to clean it up, and you somehow use water, maybe with your detergent and the rest of them. And if you don't cover that particular instrument, the alternator, you might end up damaging it, because water is a conductor, and when the water goes into the alternator, it tends to misconduct the alternator and maybe blow the components of the alternator, thereby ruining it and making it unusable, and all the functions will be gone. And then somehow you might need a replacement or a repair of your alternator system. Sometimes it could be the fuse that just got blown up. Most times, most cars come with their fuse diagrams where you can find the fuse that is responsible for the alternator, and by the time you change that fuse, your alternator starts to work again and everything is all right. So one thing that you need to be very, very cautious of is getting water into that alternator. Sometimes people want to put water in the water. This is the water holder, and sometimes they might make mistake while pouring the water will rush into that alternator down there. Some of us are careless. Sometimes some people like to use hose to pull water here, and that might be a problem. Most of us use water here. I know in some countries they use coolant. So whatever you're pouring here, make sure it doesn't get to your alternator to cause problem for you. So that's the number one issue. Then another problem is when the weather is rainy and you're driving through, make sure the undercover of the engine, there's a plastic undercover of the engine that you need to make sure it's always in place. So anytime you do some maintenance beneath the car engine or engine compartment, make sure that undercover, that plastic cover, is properly secured back so that water cannot splash through that place and get to your alternator and probably ruin the alternator. It has happened to me before. I was driving through the rain and I got to a flooded place without knowing how deep it was, and I went through it without knowing that some of the water have gotten to my alternator, and the next thing I saw was that red flash in the dash, and I had to run. I had to speed through to utilize the power in the battery to get home, and I was lucky. By the time I got home, I just got to my gate, the car stopped. I parked the car there, took the battery in, charged it, and used it to just park the car before I replaced the alternator. So you have to be very careful about water getting to the alternator. So this alternator is our topic for today. We'll have more topics, so stay tuned as they all come up. So if you have any question to ask about this alternator and any other problem associated with Mercedes Benz 230 2003 edition or version, feel free to ask me. I'll always be at your service to answer you. So please subscribe and keep coming back to this channel because we'll have a lot more to talk about. So see you. Peace.